Welcome ladies and gentlemen to my channel, and my name is Charles Ugo, and here's my face. So if you're actually watching this video, if you're the first people watching this video, or you're coming to this channel for the first time and you're seeing this video, this is actually the first video where I'm showing my face. So a little introduction about myself. First of all, like I said, my name is Charles Ugo, and I'm a graphic designer and a photographer as well. So I opened up this channel in a quest to actually make it easy for me to share knowledge. So because I get a lot of people who come ask a few questions, some questions that I have answered over and over again, some things that I've taught to several people, instead of me sending the video to them and or teaching them the same thing I've taught before to others, I simply would take them to this channel and they watch and they learn. So if you're new to this channel, a subscription will be great, and a like to this video will be awesome, because today we're going to be talking about something interesting. So let's get into it and share with your friends as well. So we're going to be talking about smart objects today, and in this video I'm just going to be talking about the difference between the smart object and the regular object in Photoshop. And in the part 2, which you should actually watch out for, I'm going to be talking about the two kinds of smart objects. So as you can see in my layer here, I have the smart object still, I have the raster object, and I have another smart object. Basically, what are smart objects? Smart objects are objects that are very smart, they have big brains, they do some things on their own. Hold on a second. They are not? Oh wow. I was just kidding. Smart objects are actually objects that are non-destructive. I see smart objects as objects that are encapsulated in a layer, in a box, in a smart box, if you may use that word. So whatever change you're making on that object is actually being made on that box, which reflects those changes on the object. So when you put a Gaussian blur effect on a smart object, the Gaussian blur effect is applied on the smart box and it reflects on the object. If you apply the Gaussian blur effect on an ordinary object, it simply applies on that object and you cannot edit it. But the advantage that smart object has is that you can keep on editing the Gaussian blur till you are happy with what you get. So let me just explain that practically. So as you can see here, when you look at these two objects, they are identical, and one is actually the poster, one is the real smart object. And which one is the real smart object? Looking at these two, they are both of them on. Forgetting the name, the thumbnail here shows that this one has an icon, and I will call that a smart object icon. So as you can see, this is a smart object thumbnail. So this icon actually shows that it is a smart object, while this one, which is a raster object or a regular object, just has no icon. So it is just a layer, and the thumbnail does not really do much. It's just there for the sake of being there. So let us apply a smart filter onto both of them. First of all, I'm going to apply a smart filter on the smart object, a filter actually, but for the smart object it's going to call it a filter. Any of these filters we apply here is going to give us a similar result, not in the looks or function, but in the fact that it is a smart object. So let us apply something like a Gaussian blur to this filter. 60 points, this is fine. So it creates a smart filter and it creates a Gaussian blur effect inside that smart filter. So it does not create it on this object, it creates it on the smart filter itself. So I can turn this off and the smart object comes back to what it is, and I can turn it on and the smart filter, which has the Gaussian blur in it, reveals itself. That means since I have a Gaussian blur here, I can just double click on this Gaussian blur and I will change the amount of Gaussian blur I have. So I can increase it or I can reduce it. So let's say I put it at 5.4 now. As you can see, it has changed. So it's no more as blurry as 16.6. And I can also apply more filters here. I can actually apply a second Gaussian blur, but let me just leave that. I can apply noise or the speckle, whatever, just whatever. I'm not trying to use this for any big effect now, but because the speckle here does not really show much, let me turn off this. So back to my Gaussian blur alone. Let me apply something that will show more. Let's try render, and let's go to lens flare. So I'll try this lens flare onto this place, and I have the lens flare and my Gaussian blur. So if I turn off the lens flare, it does not show. If I turn it on, it shows. If I turn off the Gaussian blur, the lens flare keeps showing. If I turn on the Gaussian blur, it shows. And why did you notice? I know you noticed when I turned off the Gaussian blur, the lens flare went down to this place. This is a simple effect that the Gaussian blur causes, because the blur, scatters the light and makes your image blurry. It can simply scatter the position of your lens flare. So I hope that does not confuse you, by the way. So I can also double click on the lens flare and take it to somewhere else, and it simply stays there. Even with the Gaussian blur turned off, I can double click on it and take it to wherever I want to, and it stays there without complaints. So, and I can also add as many more filters and take them out in whichever way I want. I can drag it to come to the top or drag this to come to the bottom, and it changes nothing. So as you can see, the Gaussian blur is now on top while the lens flare is beneath. So, and our lens flare no more jumps around like it was jumping around when the Gaussian blur was underneath. So I hope this teaches you something. So I've drawn so much on this, but if I apply this same effect on my raster object, let's say I try the Gaussian blur, 16.6. Okay, 10.0 is fine, no problem. It simply just applies it onto that object, and I cannot go back or find the Gaussian blur from anywhere to change it. I simply can't. Okay, I simply can't. Even if I double click on this thumbnail, I just simply can't. It opens the layer style for me, and there is no way I can do this except I do the Ctrl Z. And even if you say, let's try going to the filter gallery and going to blur, instead of taking it back, it's just simply going to apply an extra 10.0 amount of blur onto the previous one. So this is the 0.1, just like it was when you applied 10, and this is 10. So preview of the before and after. As you can see, it's simply destroying it. So like I said, smart objects are non-destructive, while raster images or regular image are simply destructive. So let me clear smart filters, and let's go into the second difference. I'm just going to discuss 3 big differences here. Once I've touched those 3, every other difference you find is going to lay under this one. So let's talk about those differences. So the second difference here is in transformation. Let's say I want to transform the smart object by pressing Ctrl T. It shows this diagonal, but when I want to transform the raster image, it does not show those diagonal. But that is not actually a major difference. What does transform do to this smart object? So I drag to, let me find out where it was before. So I drag to, it was in 78.01%. So when I drag it to like 6.09%, or let me take it to just 100 so that this will not be confusing at all. I'll first take them to 100, and I will also take this one to fill in that same size of 100. So they are both the same size now, right? And this is the raster object while this one is the smart object. So when I drag this to, let's say, 2%, we have something like this. So tiny, you have to zoom in so much and it's not looking good. But like I said, it's non-destructive, so we have nothing to fear. But let's try the same thing on the smart object, and let me keep this at 2% as well. So it is also so tiny that it is not looking good at all. So they both actually look alike. So what if I decide to bring this one back to 100? We still have the 2 here, right? Because it is non-destructive, so 100. And we simply have our image back here and hearty, and our brain is happy. But when I try to adjust this, as you can see, I put it in 2 before, but you know, it's just has lost the 2%, and we're back to 100. So I'll just maybe use my instinct to drag it to something close to its previous size, and nah, this is bad. This is bad. So that is the second big difference between a raster image and a smart object. So when you are working with files, or when you're working with objects that in your design you might have to resize a lot of times, you might want to convert it to a smart object. I'm talking about objects. This does not apply to texts, and it does not apply to shapes or parts. It only works on objects, on images. Okay, so if you are working on images and you might have to resize it a lot, just right click on that image and convert it to smart object, so that when you resize it, let me put this to 2%, and and you take it back to 100, it loses nothing. I don't know what I'm doing here. That's so funny. So it loses nothing and you are good to go. The third big difference is that some of these layers here only work on raster image, and I wouldn't call this an advantage which the raster image has over the smart object, but I don't know what to call it either. It is not a disadvantage though, but because the smart object has a way of going around it, so it is not really a disadvantage for the smart object. But then let's just see. So let's say I decided to apply a spot healing brush tool, which we use a lot in photography on the smart object. I can zoom in, I can handle these things, I can keep brushing on it till I get rid of that area. Maybe it's a blemish, I keep brushing on it till I get rid of that area. But if I try to do it on the smart object itself, the tool simply goes inactive, and even if I try, it will tell me could not use the spot healing brush tool because the smart object is not directly editable. So how can you directly edit this smart object? I will show you in my next video when we're talking about the 2 kinds of smart objects. So remember to subscribe, and I promise you, you will love it here. So if I try using the brush tool or anything in between the pencil, color replacement and the rest, they are simply not going to work. But if I try it on the raster image, it works. So it just works if it is a raster image. Most of these tools here, the spot healing brush tool, the tools in the B section, I can see they are all B: mixer brush, color replacement, pencil, the S or clone stamp and pattern stamp tools, the eraser tools, the gradient tools, and I think these tools as well, the blur, sharpen and smudge tools, I don't think they work on smart objects as well. So there are so many of them that can't work on smart objects, but they can work on raster image. That is that for this video, guys. Once again, thank you for coming here, and I will be sharing with you more and more content from my brain, not that brain. So I'll be sharing with you more and more content, and please like this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell, share with your friends if you've learned something new, and let us grow together.